Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Point Spread here at fantasypoints.com. Welcome to the new watchers, listeners, viewers, curious people. I hope you join the dozens and dozens of Point Spread fans at fantasypoints.com. T-Bro, what's going on here on a Friday afternoon? Let me tell you something.
What's that? Oh, it's terrible. Daylight savings?
All right, daylight savings is awesome. Standard time is terrible. I got this light on my face. I just worked out, so it looks like I just got off a tanning bed. It's driving me nuts here. It's dark. It's gloomy. It's not supposed to be like this.
Yeah, sunset is 5 o'clock here in State College, Pennsylvania right now. So, yeah, it's getting dark. It is not my favorite time of year right now. This is a little tough, but
yeah, but I mean, we're in the throes of it here with the with betting and the NFL, Tom. I gotta admit it. I love how this is going to be our first. This is our first like free point spread of the year. And welcome everybody. I'm Joe Dolan. That's Tom Brolley. We're at fantasypoints.com and we provide season-long betting, DFS, college football, fantasy football content at fantasypoints.com. And this is a really great admission for me to make for my first ever free show. I turned it off at halftime last night. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Really?
The Panthers-Bears game. I just was like,
that's why you need stuff to bet on, Joe. That way you have something to sit there.
I did.
Through the entire game.
I had the Hayden Hurst, and I'm like, screw this. He's not getting it.
Didn't he get it, though? John was fucked.
Well, I got it at 14.5, and I think he only had 14.
I think John gave it out 13.5 on the radio show yesterday.
Oh my God, what a disaster that game was. Carolina and the Bears. Anyway, Tom, we're not here to recap. We're here to look forward, and we're looking forward to the Week 10 NFL slate and here's what we do here. It's basically the simplest show I think we possibly do on the channel. We go game by game. We look at the total. We look at the side. And then we look at any interesting player props. I am using DraftKings Sportsbook, but Tom is the expert here who's looking at all the numbers. And obviously, you want to get the best of the numbers. It's hard for me to for props. It's hard for me to go everywhere, but we're going to look at the numbers here. I'm going to use DraftKings Sportsbook, but Tom's going to try to find the best of the number for you. And T-Bro, the one primetime game or one island game followed up by another. We're going to go to Frankfurt, Germany, and look at Indianapolis and New England. I'm seeing 1.5. I'm seeing a 2 out there. Indianapolis given the 1.5, the 2. The total is 43 with the Colts and the Patriots. The Colts have been an over team. The Patriots have been an under team. Indy coming off, Tom. They're 4-5 straight up, 5-4 against the spread, but 3-1 outright in neutral site games or road and neutral site games. So they've been a road warrior here of the Colts. Number and the total, Tom. Anything that you're interested in here?
Yeah, this one opened up 1.5, so this has stayed here all week right at this mark, and 43.5 was the opener as well. So not a whole lot of movement off of this spread and total. I lean towards the Colts size here. I just think the markets have been a little bit slow to react to just how bad this Patriots team is. I think there's still some built-in, Bill Belichick love, and I think this should be closer to a field goal. So. This is one I've been kind of debating all week adding. I think I probably will maybe add this at some point this week, especially if it stays at. There are some 2s popping up here, but if it stays at 1.5, I'm still deliberating on this one. But this Patriots team is an easy team to fade right now, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the way I lean for ATS poll purposes, and might become eventually a best bet here with the Colts.
Jonathan Taylor has been kind of a bell cow, or at least it looked like he was a bell cow for the first time last week with his biggest role, but the number has kind of followed, Tom. He's at 68.5 in the best bet in the prop market. Kind of hard for me to take that with the prop, but did you see anything in this prop market that you liked?
No, this is one of the games that nothing really stood out here for me. I did look at some unders maybe for these Patriots receivers. Juju Smith-Schuster was sitting around 27.5. He was kind of a part-time player last week. Mike Gesicki was playing in the slot. They were using a lot more 2 tight ends. So it was a lot of Jalen. I was looking at Jalen Rigger maybe under his just because he stinks. But
Pop Douglas is questionable in this game. So does that change everything in terms of the calculus on how you bet these Patriot receivers?
Yeah, maybe it was even thinking maybe Pop Douglas under his number, but he's kind of been the one kind of reliable receiver for them so far ever since Kendrick Bourne went down. So yeah, nothing really stood out in this game. I don't even really want to talk much more about this one. Let's get to more interesting games in the 1:00 slate.
Well, here's an instantly more interesting one. Let's go to Baltimore hosting Cleveland. 6.5 being the number, Tom. Baltimore laying the 6.5, minus 105 there. So it looks like it might get to 6, or at least it's fluctuating between there. I don't think it's going to get to 7. 38.5 is the total, Tom. Baltimore has been an absolute buzzsaw, especially at home here, just destroying two fringe NFC contenders in Detroit and Seattle, their last 2 home games. And now they got a Cleveland team that, Deshaun Watson coming off a clean game, but against arguably the worst team in football, the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, and the injuries for the Cleveland Browns offensive line has kind of been driving this line up all week. This one opened 5.5 earlier in the week, and it's gotten to this 6.5 number. It doesn't look like it's going to get to 7, but it looks like it's just going to ping pong here at 6.5, 6. So, yeah, if you're on the Browns side, I'm leaning towards the Browns side. They already played earlier this season. That was a Dorian Thompson-Robinson game. So didn't really get a full outlook for the Browns in that game. It was a rough performance for the rookie, and they eventually turned to PJ Walker to take over for Deshaun Watson. But yeah, this Baltimore Ravens team has been a wagon here the last couple of weeks. I stepped in front of it one time with the Detroit Lions right before they really got going. That was kind of the game that set it in motion for them. And they've been just trucking teams the last couple of weeks. So I get why there's a lot of Baltimore support in the market right now. I moved them up to my fourth, top part, power rated team behind the Eagles, Chiefs, and 49ers. And you could easily make a case that they've been the best team, in the NFL so far this season. So they're right there with the rest of the top of the league right now. And I lean towards the Browns. I think I think I like catching a bunch of points in this spot, but a divisional game here. But yeah, this is one I won't probably be betting here.
So the prop market's interesting because there are some really key injuries here. Baltimore's got Keaton Mitchell's questionable with the hamstring injury. Cleveland, like you said, Tom, a lot on the offensive line is problematic for them with DeJuan Jones and obviously Jedrick Wills ending up on IR. Did you hit anything in the prop market in this game?
Yeah, we're starting out with 2 games where I don't have any prop bets here, but yeah, I was considering Mark Andrews. Browns have been, pretty tough against tight ends overall so far this season, but Mark Andrews got them. He has a history of putting up production in this matchup, and I do think that they should be pushed to throw a little bit more. I know Lamar Jackson fantasy owners are quite frustrated with how many of these rushing touchdowns have been going to Gus Edwards and the backs here. And the passing game really hasn't been pushed here in recent weeks because of just how much they're blowing out teams. But Mark Andrews was one that kind of stood out to me. I didn't really see anything else in this game that really kind of got my interest here. I would probably be looking more towards the unders here. I think this could be not a rock fight, but I do think this could be more of a defensive battle here between these 2 AFC North teams.
Let's move to the Texans and the Bengals, Tom. The Texans are catching 6.5. 47 is the total. A lot of respect for the Texans in the markets because, well, they've actually dropped back-to-back games against the spread here, and they've also they had been a team that was getting respect offensively. They actually had 4 straight under games before last week. They CJ Stroud almost beat that by himself last week. But the Bengals, though, have been maybe the hottest team in terms of betting. I think they're 4-0 straight up and 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow starting to his MVP odds have dropped. Have risen.
I wish I got on that 3 weeks ago.
I know he was like 22-1 or something 2 weeks ago. But yeah, this is a total that's started the week at 46.5 up to 47, and the Texans were 8-point underdogs on Monday at the start of the week. the Jamar Chase issue. It looks like he's going to
T.
try to give it
Higgins.
but the T. Higgins injury as well. But you look across I was gonna bet the Texans on Monday getting to 8, but I mean the Texans injury report is just as it doesn't have the marquee names like the Bengals, but it's quite ugly as well. It looks like Nico Collins is going to be
had like half their team on the damn list.
Yeah, that's what I always try to keep track of injuries on Sunday. NFL does a great roundup. NFL.com. They have the notable injuries. They kind of compile it as the day goes on, and it was pretty big on Sunday, and the list just got bigger and bigger as the week went along here. So I was prepared to jump on the Texans +8 on Monday, but I was scared away by Houston's injuries. Kind of wish I had because this game has lost some of its pop with some of these big time wide receivers potentially definitely missing on the Bengals side with T. Higgins out, and Nico Collins also out on the Texans side.
Well, and by the way, Nico Collins is out. They're getting Robert Woods back. Yes. And I had almost wondered if Robert Woods was going to get Wally pipped because Noah Brown's been so good for them, but they're going to need Bobby Trees to help fill in for Nico Collins. And when it gets into the prop market, Tom, not a whole lot. No Dameon Pierce, but Devin Singletary's at 48.5. Basically no Bengals props with the exception of Mixon and Burrow, which is understandable right now.
Yeah, one I did give out this afternoon was Tank Dell over 54.5 receiving yards. It looks like it's been bet up to 56.5. Still like it there. I think this should be probably in that 60 to 63, somewhere in that range. So I think this probably will be eventually bet up some more. So if you're interested in getting in on that, 57 plus yards in 4 of his 6 games. We got Nico Collins out of the lineup. And Bengals have been very giving to the perimeter receivers per our fantasy points data, giving up the 5th most yards per route run at 2.4 yards and a league high 16.8 yards per reception to receivers aligned on the perimeter. We would expect Tank Dell to, he's been around 70 to 75% of the snaps on the perimeter. Noah Brown and Robert Woods are both slot type of receivers. One of those, they're going to have to play more on the outside this weekend. So I would think Dell stays out in the perimeter quite a bit, and that's more of the favorable matchup. And you take Nico Collins's, 20% target share, and his whatever it is, I think it's about 33 or 34% your air yard share, and we'll give him a little bit, a few more to Tank Dell here. So over 54.5. This is one of the highest totals on the board as well. Chance for this game to have a little bit of back and forth as we saw last week. And as you noted at the top there, a lot of unders in a row for the Texans. They kind of, let the rookie play a little bit last week. They kind of had to going against the Tampa Bay team. That's more of a pass funnel defense, and hopefully they stick with it this week. Clearly they have no running game right now with Singletary at running back. So let's let CJ Stroud cook a little bit here this weekend.
This next game might be the game of the week. And it also is a game where, depending on which side you like, Tom, you have got to shop around if possible. We're talking about the 49ers heading to Duval County to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars, this is going to be one of those, they're a contender, or it's a fraud alert game after this game, because they don't necessarily have to win, but if they show up and they go punch for punch with the 49ers, then it's going to open some eyes. The Jaguars are getting either 3 or 3.5, depending on where you shop, Tom. Obviously, if you like Jacksonville, you want that hook. If you like San Francisco, you do not want to give that hook. You want to lay the 3. And we're also looking at a total of, let's say 45.5, depending on where you look, Tom. San Francisco at Jacksonville. Do you have a play on either the side or the total in this game?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of sit this one out and check it out. I lean towards the Jaguars. I'm more in the camp that I do think they're for real. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has played particularly well yet either. This defense has played much better than I anticipated heading into the season. Offensive line and Travis Etienne have played really well as well. So they just need Trevor Lawrence to get going a little bit. And I do like the 3 there. As you noted, it's kind of shaded towards, I'm seeing pretty much 3s across the board, but it does seem like there might be some 3.5s that pop up for the Jaguars. So if you're looking to get in on the Jaguars, I'd probably wait it out, see if we do get a nice 3.5 out there somewhere. And if you're a 49er side, I think we're probably going to have 3s. and 3.5 at some
I
point
don't
this
see a
weekend.
2.5 coming. I'm not sure.
No, those are gone. That's actually where the line opened up. I try to give those out at the top. It was 2.5, 3 at most. It was 3 at most books, but there were some 2.5s out there on Monday. So those have been wiped out. I don't think those are coming back, especially with the injury report looking pretty good for the 49ers coming out of the bye. Debo's going to play. Trent Williams is going to play. And those were kind of the two big ones that the offense didn't look quite right without those guys the last couple of weeks in their 3-game losing streak.
This is a pretty wild spot, by the way. The Niners, ice cold. 3 straight losses and 3 straight non-covers for them. The Jaguars, 5 straight wins, 5 straight covers, but both teams coming off a bye. So there's like a little reset button there.
The Jaguars have been kind of flying under the radar, I think, a little bit. So they had the big win against Buffalo, as the Jaguars are one to do. They're not a high profile team, even as they've made a little bit of noise last year in Doug Peterson's first year. But very, very interesting crossover game here. It's pretty important as well. I mean, the Jaguars only 2 losses so far. Want to keep pace with the top of the AFC, and certainly the 49ers have fallen behind a little bit to the Eagles. And the Seahawks the Seahawks have looked terrible. I don't think they're nearly as good as the 49ers, but the Seahawks also have 3 losses in the NFC West. So they don't want to lose any ground to them with 2 games coming up against the Seahawks in the second half.
No doubt about it. Like, if you look at the Jaguars, I mean, they might be sitting here saying we play in by far the easiest division in this conference. Like, if we're sitting here and the rest of the top of the AFC beats up on itself, we might be effing around and finding out and hosting the AFC.
I'm kind of kicking myself. I gave out Jaguars to win the Super Bowl in the winter. After the odds came out after last Super Bowl, and I was really thinking about, they have a great path to, if everything breaks right, to be the top seed in the AFC, playing in that AFC South. Although the AFC South has been way better than I kind of anticipated with the Texans, and
it is plucky. It is. Plucky,
yeah, so they're plucky. I thought they were going to be downright. I thought that division was going to be downright terrible. So that's the Jaguars. This is a pretty pivotal game here for both conferences.
Tom, Ed, did you hit any props here in this game? Pretty full market because everybody's kind of healthy here.
Yeah, I did. I have a
except for Zay Jones.
Yeah, Zay Jones is out. He did practice this week. Looks like they're kind of ramping him up for next week. I did give out Evan Ingram under receiving yards, 47.5. He's been under this number 3 out of the last 4 games. He had the big game against the Steelers the last time out, but 49ers have been tough against slot receivers and tight ends here. They, really strong in the middle of the field. So I think Graham actually gave out a Calvin Ridley over his receiving yards. If you want to attack that perimeter, that's where they're the weakest for the 49ers. So I do have an Ingram under 47.5. And I also grabbed a Debo. Debo is back. He's back, 45.5. Pretty low number for him. Hopefully he's back to full strength. He's been, I just kicked my camera. There we go. I sorry about that.
Live television here.
Swinging my foot out. I hit my tripod. So we got Debo over 45.5. He's been up over this number whenever he's been healthy. Zone. This is more of a zone defense. He's a little better. Ayuk is a little bit better against man coverage, and we look for Debo in these zone spots. So and this has been more of a pass funnel defense as well for the Jaguars. They've been tough against the run. So looking at Debo over his receiving yards as well.
All right, Tom, we got a split line in our next game. It's an interesting one. America's darling. They're trying to call him the Pastronaut, Josh Dobbs, the pocket scientist.
Scientist.
You might know, Tom, the new Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard is Josh Dobbs is a rocket scientist.
Yes. Hey, well, he wears the NASA hats and all his press conferences and stuff. He's a really cool guy. He's a great story, and I don't want to hear anything that's going to be against this story. But there is a split line. America's darling, Josh Dobbs, depending on where you look, catching 3, catching 2.5 at home from the New Orleans Saints, 41 the total. Tom, I'm seeing some +3s minus 115. So I'm seeing some +3s minus 118 at DraftKings. So it looks like it is kind of
between that 2.5, 3. And obviously one of those lines where, depending on who you like in this game, you want to shop around for the right number.
Yeah, this opened up at 2.5 on Monday with the Saints favored, and yeah, it has been bet up a little bit. The Vikings injury report is a little shaky as well, which is, I think, why this line has moved up a little bit. Looks like TJ Hawkinson will play. They gave a questionable tag to Justin Jefferson, which I think might be why we're seeing some 2.5s here. I don't think he's going to play. It seems like more likely that he comes back in week 11. But Christian Darrisaw looks like he's going to play. So yeah, I get why there has been some buyback on the Vikings here, but because their injury report was a little nasty, which is why I think it got up to 3 earlier in the week. But I'm leaning towards the Saints in this game. The Dobbs, the element of surprise, and against Arthur Smith and his team. I just don't think that the Saints will be caught off guard this week by Josh Dobbs and his acumen to be able to scramble and extend plays. And I think the Saints will come in prepared here. So I lean towards the Saints, but and I also think the Vikings are going to be kind of a trendy, in ATS polls and in betting. The public wants to back Josh Dobbs. So if we're looking to be a little contrarian in our polls, and I think the Saints could be a good spot here, -2.5.
Justin Jefferson, I believe, is officially questionable in this game.
That's what I saw. Yep.
It looks like KJ Osborne is going to play. He got a full practice in on Friday, so that's
good. That was a nasty hit.
Yeah. Oh, that was one. Paul and I we had to fill air on Sirius XM, and we're like, "Good God, that was terrible." But I'm glad he walked off the field. I'm glad to see he's okay. Other than that, though, Tom, pretty full rack of props here, and a lot of options if you wanted to bet on this.
Yeah, I did. I grabbed an Alvin Kamara under his rushing yards, 71.5, 51.5. I mean, not 71.5.
Man, let me run.
I wish it was 71.5. That'd be lock it in already. He hasn't been very effective. 3.6 yards per carry on the ground. So they kind of, his snap share has fallen in, I think, 3 or 4 consecutive games here, down to 49%. So they're trying to get Jamal Williams going a little bit. We've certainly seen more Taysom Hill on the field the last couple of weeks. He's become kind of the red zone back. So we're going to fade Alvin Kamara's usage here in recent weeks. I still think he'll be very involved as a receiver, but they're trying to, get Jamal Williams and Taysom Hill going as the runners. And this Vikings run defense has been quietly really, really damn good all season. Since week 3, they're giving up the fourth fewest yards per carry at 3.5 yards, and the 5th fewest rushing yards per game to opposing offenses at 84.5. So this has been a very good run defense recently. And mix that with Alvin Kamara's declining usage. We'll take an under on his rushing yards.
Let's move to Tennessee at Tampa Bay, bro. This is a really interesting game with Will Levis, Billy Denham against Baker and the boys. Tampa Bay, -1, -1.5, depending on where you look. 39, 38.5 total. Everything's kind of under 40 here. Tampa Bay has lost, I think, 4 in a row here, and 5 of 6. Tennessee is 1-3 outright and against the spread in their last 4 games. So it's 2 teams that have been doing not a whole lot of winning, Tom, of late. But nonetheless, Tennessee seems to have a little bit of juice here with Will Levis, although their run defense has absolutely collapsed over the last month. And just unbelievable. But anyway, Tampa Bay 1.5, depending on where you're looking. Do you have a play on the side or the total, Tom?
This is one I did strongly consider betting the Titans. +1.5 is out there. Couldn't quite get into it. I might evaluate it again over the weekend, but I do think I think they're trending up here a little bit with Will Levis. They did come out and announce earlier this week that he will be the starter moving forward. And if you watch any of the last 2 games, you know why. I mean, he what in an NFL right now that is devoid of a lot of good quarterbacks. There's the traits that are there. We've seen some big time throws over the last 2 weeks. Being able to push the ball downfield to DeAndre Hopkins, and even just some of his touch throws and in the intermediate areas. This was not the guy I saw at Kentucky the last couple of years, and good for the Titans. Maybe they found a a good quarterback prospect here after watching Bryce Young play last night. That was cringeworthy last night, but I am on Will Levis's prop as well. It was opened up at 212.5, I believe, is where we got it at. I think it has been bet up. I saw it like at 220 earlier this afternoon. But the Buccaneers, we saw it last week with CJ Stroud. Their route, this is a kind of a yearly occurrence with Tampa Bay. They're a pass funnel defense. Teams aren't going to have very much. I mean, the Titans are going to try. I mean, they have Derrick Henry. They're going to try to do it. But the way Will Levis is playing, Treylon Burks is out of the mix, but I think they're going to take their chances throwing the ball here. So do like his over 220.5. I would still probably bet that, but we're starting to get into the territory where the value's kind of sucked out of it by now. What other prop I did add this afternoon, and this will make John Hansen very happy because he's the biggest Kyle Phillips stan out there. I grabbed his over 21.5, and I grabbed some of his reception props, over 2.5 receptions at plus 140. He's a lot of bro articles coming out this week between Will Levis and Kyle Phillips. Yep, they're the second team chemistry going on over the summer, and those two are spending a lot of time after practice catching and running routes. So the narrative is there. Treylon Burks is out, so his routes have been going up, and I think there's really is something there. I mean, we watched that game on Thursday night. Some big time throw and catches between those two. So I think there is a bit of a connection there. 21.5, I think that's a number we can do here. I do think Nick Westbrook-Akine will probably be the guy that gets the biggest bump here in terms of like routes and stuff. But I do think Kyle Phillips will also see a little bit of a bump here with Treylon Burks out.
By the way, a couple of injuries in the secondary for Tampa Bay.
Yes,
Carlton Davis looks less likely to play than Jamel Dean does. Jamel Dean went from DNP limited full with a concussion, which means he's probably close to passing the protocol. Carlton Davis missed 2 practices with a toe, but got in a limited session on Friday, which is a good sign for Carlton Davis.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I like the passing props here for Will Levis and Kyle Phillips. Kyle Phillips it's a little tougher matchup inside, but if they have these cluster injuries in the secondary, that eventually does kind of hurt the rest of the secondary as well. So there might be shuffling players around. So maybe it turns into a better matchup here with Dean and Carlton Davis banged up right now.
Tom, are you ready to watch your worst awesome football team in the world? Pittsburgh Steelers, who have been outgained in all 8 games, and it doesn't matter because they're 5-3. Pittsburgh. Another one, Tom, that's got a little split line action here. Pittsburgh -3, -3.5. The total is about 38.5 pretty much everywhere. The Steelers at home at Heinz Field. I don't even know what the new name is.
Acrisure. Acrisure. You got to get it right. No, Yinzer calls it Acrisure.
No, absolutely not. But Pittsburgh -3, 3.5. You might have to pay a little juice to get the 3, Tom, if you don't want to lay the hook. 38.5 the total. Pittsburgh hosting Green Bay.
Yeah, it looks like, I think it was up to 3.5. It's been bet down to 3, and then some 3.5 started popping up again, as you said. With the Jair Alexander looks doubtful to play, which is a nice little upgrade for this shitty passing attack. It gets a nice little boost for Deontay Johnson, though. But I lean towards the Packers in this one. I don't feel great about it. I mean, these are 2 teams that probably would have fade. I don't trust the Steelers laying more than a field goal right now. This is not a strong team, but I did it again. I kicked it again. Sorry.
Jeez, but you really want that Brolley beer.
I'm itching for it. But the Packers, they've been one of the league's worst teams here. Took Brett Rippon playing quarterback last week, and it was a struggle just to win by margin for the Packers last week, even in that kick matchup. So not feeling great about it, but I'd lean towards the Packers catching the field goal, or plus 3.5 if you're playing in ATS polls.
By the way, the Packers opened the year 4-0 against the spread. Well, not so much The
I
3-0
don't even
against
know
the
how they
spread,
did
rather.
that. I
Yeah.
don't know how they did that. They look terrible all season long here.
Well, they finally got Jordan Love to play a clean game. Last week was the best he's played, and it's been Tom. The problem for Love has been the clean pocket. It's not even the pass rush. It's that even when he has time to throw, he's getting crapped on. So this has been a problem for Jordan Love.
Well, maybe hey, I think the Steelers will get after him a little bit this week. So maybe that's a good thing.
Maybe that'll help you.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you hit anything in the prop market in this game?
No, this is one I couldn't really find anything that stood out to me. I was hoping Deontay's number would open a little lower, but it's in the 62.5 range. Just a little scared by that. I think his reception prop is at 5.5 as well. That was one I was thinking about targeting here, but I'm not playing the squeaky wheel narrative with George Pickens after his little hissy fit this week, taking down all his social media stuff with Steelers stuff on it. But yeah, nothing really stood out here. I did give it a pretty good look, but nothing even on the Packers side here. So this is I don't anticipate probably betting anything on this game. And if I do, it would probably be some sort of under here, but nothing really stood out.
It is objectively hilarious, by the way, that Kyler Murray is returning the week. Like, the new Call of Duty came out today.
Really?
And Kyler Murray is starting his first game in a calendar year today.
Maybe he's a new man. Maybe he's dedicated. I mean, he's showing discipline, or maybe he's going to be really tired and playing all weekend long.
And by the way, it's not like they're at home, so it's not like they took a cross country flight today. And nope,
so he doesn't have to pack up all the gear, the comfortable chair, and he can play at home there.
Atlanta is laying 1.5 with HB Heineke in Arizona. So there's another split line here, Tom. There's some twos out there. I know the 1.5 to 2 isn't really that big that huge difference.
There's been a lot of lines in that range here this year with the home field advantage.
Didn't Simmons and Sal come up with a name for that?
Yeah, I did hear
dumb name. I forget about it.
Tic Tac, I think.
Tic Tac Zone. I don't even.
That's so stupid.
I don't understand what that is. I do get the Vegas zone one, which is just like that ugly number. Nobody wants to see a 4.5.
I do like that one. Yeah, the between the 4.5, the 4 and the 6 there. I do like the Vegas one. The Tic Tac, nah.
I don't know about that, but yeah, this is a very low number where they're like, nobody trusts Atlanta, but nobody trusts Arizona, and nobody knows anything about Kyler. 43 is the total. Tom, are you a bad enough dude to lay a bet on HB Heineke against rusty Kyler Murray?
I'm leaning towards the rusty Kyler Murray side here. This line did open up 2.5 earlier this week, and it has been bet down a little bit. As bad as the Cardinals have been here, it just tells you how bad the Falcons are right now. That this line is under a field goal, even with Kyler Murray coming back into the mix. I mean, we haven't seen him in basically a year. I think that was a Week 14 injury for him last year. So, we're like 11 months after that injury. So I lean towards the Cardinals here right now, but this is definitely one of those. I'd rather sit on the sidelines and observe and see what we have with Kyler Murray coming back.
Says a good thing. Sorry, Tom, you cut out there. I don't know if I cut.
Yeah, I got you back now. It was a little choppy there.
Oh, I don't know what the hell's going on. The qualms of live television. Anyway, Tom, are you sure you want to watch this one? I guess Kyler's more interesting than Clayton Tune is, at the very least.
That's for sure. I mean, that was a pathetic performance. I felt kind of bad for him. They kind of threw him out to the wolves there against the Browns, and that was a complete disaster last week for that offense. They had 58 receiving yards or passing yards or whatever it was. So I am interested, though. I do want to see what we have in Kyler, if he's this is a brand new offense as well, and I'm kind of interested to see what we have with Trey McBride and Michael Wilson as well. See if we can get those younger players going again. And Marquise Brown has certainly bit the dust here a little bit the last couple of weeks. So interested to see where this offense goes with Kyler back in charge.
Did you hit anything in the prop market, Tom?
No, this was one I did give it a look. Nothing really stood out initially. I was thinking about we did hit a couple Drake London overs, but that was before the injury, and he really hasn't had the chance to play with Heineke. So the numbers pretty appealing at 47.5. That's kind of the range that we were hitting it the last couple of weeks. But the uncertainty with him with the groin injury and with HB Heineke leading the offense, kind of want to see that one first a little bit. And we did hit a Trey McBride under his receiving yards last week. This total is pretty high again. I think his total should be more in the 34.5 to 35.5 range. But the Falcons have been pretty bad against tight ends all season long. They've been kind of a tight end funnel so far this season. So that's going to probably keep me off of that. But I think that McBride number's a bad number out there. It should be in that 35.5, 36.5 yard range. So if I had a little more, if this was a little tougher matchup, I might be betting the under on the McBride stuff again. But that is not a good number at 40.5. Uh-oh. I can't hear you, Joe. Can you hear me?
Sorry, I was on mute because I was trying to get my I was trying to plug in my computer. Sorry guys, we're gonna have Trey post produce this one because I'm lay some juice if you want. We've got 48.5. One of the more interesting games of the week actually come out and gone into are we
I can Joe, you're like chopping in and out. What game were you introducing again?
let me refresh.
Well, I think he was introducing the Washington-Seattle game. That line opened up -6 on the board. Seattle is, this line is it was up to 6.5. There's a 5.5 out there in the market. The prop wise, I don't think I've bet anything on this one. Nothing really stood out. So I'm leaning towards the Commanders getting the 6 points for ATS poll purposes. Oh, geez, now my computer's freezing up. Let's go to the next one anyway. I think we haven't touched on the Giants and the Dallas Cowboys here. This line opened up -15.5 on Monday. It's been bet up to 17.5 out there. There's a -18 at BetMGM on the Dallas Cowboys, and I kind of agree with it. I just don't see how the Giants are going to move the ball. This total was at okay. We're pausing for a second. We're going to let Joe come on back into the show here. Joe, you're doing better now.
All right. Hi.
All right. You're good.
Okay, so here's the deal. I just went on my hotspot. That's all I did now.
Okay, you still having your Spectrum issues?
I don't fucking know. I didn't think I was, but anyway, we're gonna have Trey do some post prod here. Sorry, everybody. This is the slings and arrows of live television. Tom, I was introducing the Lions and the Chargers because the Chargers have actually done some things recently where look, they've actually done a decent job of actually winning games they should win and do things that they should. I know Justin Herbert did not have a great game last time out, but the Chargers won a couple of games that they should have won, and that's good for them. But the Chargers are getting either 3 or 2.5, depending on where you look. And if you want to lay the 2.5 with Detroit, you got to lay some juice with it as well.
Yeah, this is one gave out on Monday. We're on the Detroit Lions, gave it out -1.5, and it sat under a field goal for a couple days there. So I hope the people that are on our website and checking out the content were able to get down on the Lions when it was under a field goal. I see the Chargers injury report, Joe. It's clean as a whistle here this week. I saw just Bosa had an illness, and so
with the exception of all the guys that they have on IR, of course, including.
Well, yeah, that's like it happens every year with the Chargers. But Lions also have a pretty nice injury report as well. They're coming off their bye. That was kind of why I liked it. The Chargers have the short week playing a physical Jets team on Monday Night Football across the country. Got to fly back. They have no home field advantage. Lions are getting David Montgomery back in the backfield, and they also getting some offensive linemen back here potentially. Frank Ragnow, Jonah Jackson. So this offensive line is going to be pretty healthy here. So liking the Lions in this spot. I know the home away splits aren't as favorable for Jared Goff. He's a much better player at home, but this is about as sterile environment as he can get. Gets to play out in Los Angeles again, and I'm sure there might be more Lions fans than Chargers fans. So I think this is a spot where Jared Goff could actually have some road success. It doesn't usually happen, but so yeah, I still like it -3. Maybe there's going to be some -2.5s pop back up there though, Joe. So if you're looking to get on the Lions, maybe just wait to see what the markets do and try to grab a 2.5. I see a Sugar House has 2.5. They're not out there too much, but most of the big books are still at 3, but there could be some 2.5s that could pop back up here.
Yeah. What's interesting, Tom, is I'm seeing the Chargers +3 115 here. Oh yeah. That makes sense because it could get back to 2.5. I'm sorry, I had it. I'm all flustered by my shit.
That's all right.
So it's really windy outside. I'm wondering if that's the cause here. Did you hit anything in the prop market, Tom, in this game?
I did. Austin Eckler under his rushing yards. I've been typically, we bet against Josh Jacobs a couple of weeks ago on Monday Night Football. That was a winner. This Lions run defense has been pretty strong all season long. So they're giving up 3.6 yards per carry and the second fewest rushing yards per game to running backs at 57.6 yards. So really strong run defense for Detroit. And we look at Austin Eckler. He has not been very good on the ground dating back to last year. 50 or fewer rushing yards in 16 of his last 23 games, if you include the postseason game as well last year. So 4 straight games under 50 yards as well. So yeah, I like him. Anything under like 48.5, 49.5, anything down to that. I just don't think they're going to have very much success running the ball here against Detroit. So like Eckler under his rushing yards.
How much time do we need to spend on this game? Dallas is laying 17, 17.5 also to the Giants, 39.5 the total. Tom, go ahead. I ain't taking the Giants. I'll tell you that much.
No, this is one I did give out. I didn't give out. I went with the Cowboys for ATS poll purposes. Yeah, this line has just been getting not pounded, but it's just been steadily rising all weekend here. I'm curious where it's going to stop. There are still some 17s out there, -17 at DraftKings. So if you want to get down on the Cowboys, I would advise getting down now. It's been bet up 17.5, 18 at some spots. So I think it eventually probably settles in this like 17.5 range. I think that's if you want to bet on the Giants, you're going to have to I would just, God bless you if you want to bet on the Giants first off. And if you do, just wait, and you're going to get a pretty good number.
I mean, I'm sure there's a very smart bettor out there who is like, can present to me a good case for the Giants, and it might be convincing, but I got
your case, Tom. Joe. I got your case. Remember beginning of the season, Cowboys were massive 2-touchdown favorites against the Arizona Cardinals. So it can happen. It's NFL football. It can happen. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't put my money on it happening, but it could happen. I don't think it will. This offensive, the issues with the Giants are a little deeper than what the Cardinals' issues were at the beginning of the year. They can't block anybody. Well, I mean, we saw this matchup already in week 1, back when the Giants were at full strength, and it was a complete disaster, 40-0 on that Sunday night game. I don't see how they're going to have much success moving the ball and slowing this pass rush down for the Dallas Cowboys.
Did you dare go into the prop market here, Tom?
I did. I went with a Giant, which I am scared here, but it was a pretty low number here with Daniel Bellinger, 14.5 receiving yards. We've got a pretty low bar to cross here. Darren Waller's out of the lineup. Bellinger was 69% of the routes he ran last week. 3 catches for 43 yards. Dallas has been beat up by tight ends. They've locked down receivers for the most part, but giving up the 16th most receiving yards per game to receivers, tight ends at 46.5. And 7 of 8 tight ends have reached 16 yards. That's all we want from you. Danny boy, just get the 16 yards. So I think we probably could get some check downs, and especially if this game gets into some garbage time in the second half. Maybe Danny Bellinger can get a few catches here, and maybe the targets will be funneling towards him in the middle of the field here. So I thought that line, I thought it should be more in the 19.5 yard range, and when a number is this low, and that's a pretty big discrepancy from where I thought it should be. So over 14.5 receiving yards for Daniel Bellinger.
All right, let's go to the Seattle and Washington. Washington at Seattle. Seattle's in Washington, but this is Washington at Seattle. A little geography humor there for you, T, bro. 5.5. There it is, the Vegas zone. Seattle laying 5.5 or 6, depending on where you look. You have to lay a little juice if you want the 5.5 and don't want to get to the 6. 45.5 the total. Washington at Seattle.
Yeah, this line is kind of sat here for most of the week. It did we did see some like 6.5s a little bit earlier on like Thursday, but they've been kind of bet down here. I'm siding with the Washington Commanders here. They were good to me last.
Not been good against the spread of late.
No, not for a long time. I mean, last year they were great for a long stretch. Obviously, whenever Geno Smith kind of took the league by surprise, but they were bad against the number to close out last season. And the last 4 games here, 0-3-1 after a 3-1 start to the season. And it's a lot of it's on Geno Smith. I mean, he just does not look great right now. But this is certainly a much softer spot than a couple of the ones that he's faced here against the Bengals and the Ravens the last couple of weeks. So should be a spot where they should have some success. But, I think this Washington team has been a little better than I thought, and they've been a little frisky as well. Sam Howell has, kind of earned himself some more work in the future with his performance so far this year. And Eric Bieniemy is certainly letting him throw the ball. We love it for one of the few spots for fantasy we actually kind of like. This has been a very pass-heavy team, so if they're down 10 points late in the game. This is one where I could see the back door being open here a little bit too as well. So I'm leaning with the Commanders here, getting the +6 in this matchup for ATS poll purposes.
Anything in the props, Tom? I got to be honest. DK Metcalf 66.5 is a little juicy. It's a little high, but they put Emmanuel Forbes back in the lineup last week.
I know. You imagine oh my God, the screenshots of that will be circulating on Sunday afternoon. I can already see that. Forbes lines up across from Metcalf. That's probably I think.
You ever see the video game for Nintendo, Paper Mario? Which is like it's like Mario in 2D, but when he goes to 3D, he looks like just this. Because it's like paper. That's what Emmanuel Forbes looks like next to DK Metcalf. He looks 2-dimensional next to him.
Yeah, and DK is a fully formed human being. That's for sure. But prop wise, nothing really stood out on this one. I'll probably give it another look. The Metcalf, like you said though, he had a 50-yard catch last week and didn't even come close to topping his prop last week. Just the one catch last week. Much different matchup though than going against the Baltimore Ravens secondary. But nothing really stood out here in terms of props for this game.
All right, T-Bro, we've got the New York Jets.
Oh boy, another primetime game.
And I think we have a split favorite here.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, it's been.
We've not only do we have a bunch of split lines, we have a lot of split favorites. We've got one for the Jets, one for the Raiders. Tom, just bet your money line. The money line is -110 for both teams, 36.5 being the total. The Jets and the Raiders, and it might close as a pick 'em here.
Yeah, it certainly appears that way. The Raiders opened the week 2-point underdogs, so the Jets were favored by 2 points on Monday. of course, the Jets go out on Monday Night Football, and Zach Wilson. I don't think he's turning the corner. Everybody was telling us after that Chiefs game, or Chris Collinsworth was telling us that he's turning a quarter.
He actually he played really well in that game, but
I know he did, but the larger sample size told us that was not going to be the Zach Wilson that we were getting going forward. But he has come back to earth here. But I think we also have another rookie. Zach Wilson plays like a rookie. We have a rookie played across from Aiden O'Connell, going against a very, very tough Jets team. We saw them kind of embarrassed. Was that what Robert Salah said earlier? We're embarrassing quarterbacks weekly, and he did it to Justin Herbert last week. I mean, the Chargers won that game.
They're excellent defensively. They're phenomenal defensively.
But prop wise, that was one I did hit. It was Aiden O'Connell under his passing yards. It was 206.5. It did move up a little bit later.
Yeah, I got it at 209.
That's what I saw. I bet the under 206.5, and it went up to 209.5 at DraftKings and BetMGM. FanDuel doesn't have a number out on this yet, but there are some other books out there at 203.5. I think this line is probably going to settle under 200 yards. I thought this should be more in that 195 range, so I thought there was some value there. Wish I would have seen the line a little later, though, and waited to get it at 209.5, but hopefully that 3 yards does not make a difference. So, of course, I still like it if we're going to get a few more yards. And the fact that I'm betting on under on Aiden O'Connell, I do side with the Jets for ATS poll purposes. Gonna reluctantly go with Zach Wilson. Hopefully the Jets score like a defensive touchdown or something, because or Breece Hall does the work. But we'll see if this the Raiders they got the fired coach bump last week. Certainly 24-point victory over the Giants. We'll see if it's sustainable. I still think Aiden O'Connell's a work in progress here, and this is not the ideal matchup for him. So I'll side with the Jets defense being the best unit in this game, and that's the direction I'll go. Out of the 4 big units in this game, the Jets defense is clearly the best out of the offenses in the Raiders defense here. So
how many big units do we have on this program, bro?
Oh, two absolute units here.
I don't know about that. You were talking about fully formed human beings earlier. I'm not sure if I qualify.
We'll get there someday, Joe.
Yeah, well, eventually. I think they make a pill for that these days.
Yeah.
Denver at Buffalo. Again, you know what? Just what everybody wanted. A primetime slate that includes the Panthers, the Bears, the Jets, the Raiders, and the Broncos. At least it has the Bills, and you never know what they're going to do. 7.5, Tom, depending on where you look. 7 minus 115, 46.5 the total. The Bills laying the 7. This is one of those games where, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills freaking lost it, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills just clobbered the Broncos this week.
Yeah, I'm with you, Joe. I gave out the Broncos plus 8.5 early in the week. This line, as you said, it's ticked down here. There are some 7s starting to pop. Obviously I'm on the Broncos, so I think this is going to be a close game. I think this could end up being an entertaining one on Monday night.
You might know, just like that Detroit-Baltimore game a couple weeks ago, you might know right away if you're on the right side of that game.
Yeah, I think so. That's the thing also. The Broncos have actually been really good right out of the gates. Sean Payton, his scripting, they've been scoring early in games, and Bills have been, we saw the Bengals go right down the field last week and jump out on the Bills, and they actually won. Didn't they win the toss? And they wanted to kick, wanted the ball and scored. So we'll find out early. Yeah, we'll see if the Broncos can set the tone. I think the Broncos defense, we'll see if it's for real. But I think they are playing a little bit better here in recent weeks. They've shut down the Chiefs twice. And, I'm not telling you they're a top 10 unit all of a sudden, but they're not historically bad like we saw in the first month of the season. So I think Sean Payton might be having this team turn a little bit of a corner. They're really leaning into their run game. Javonte Williams looks, I think he's looked great here the last couple of weeks heading into their bye. So I think this game has the potential to be much closer. And the Bills are going in the opposite direction here. We faded the Bills last week, with the Bengals, and that was not an easy victory for the Bengals, but they led throughout, and it was a coast to coast winner. So we're going to be fading the Bills here until these numbers start going down a little bit. This is not the same defense that we saw without Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White here. So we're going to back the Broncos plus 7.5. They're still out there. So get that hook if you can, if you're going to grab the points with the Broncos here.
Tom, I'll give you a prop here. Let me I don't know
go.
if you like it or not. Jerry Jeudy under 51.5. I got burned on an under by him in their last game. Teron Johnson's an awesome slot corner.
Okay, I'll have to look at that one closer. Joe, I was on that Jeudy one too. He had 2 catches.
Oh, 2 catches on one drive, and then
on the same drive
all the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think he probably won't have another 39 or whatever 40-yard reception or whatever the heck that was the rest of the season. But that one stunk. So I will give that one a look. Another one I saw out there, I couldn't believe how low this line was. Samaje Perine over 12.5 receiving yards. He's been at 15 or more receiving yards in every game so far this season. Every game. He's their passing back. The spread is telling us that they could be playing from behind. And then we look at the numbers for the Bills. They've been giving up a lot of production to running backs. 5th most receiving yards per game, 46.7. So everything's kind of lined up. This line probably should have opened up more in the 15.5, 16.5 range. So that's a pretty big discrepancy here at 12.5. I think that's a really good number. So go out there and maybe they're playing from behind in the second half, and Samaje Perine gets a couple checkdowns from Russell Wilson.
All right, T-Bro. My internet connection, I think it stabilized when I went to my hotspot. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Been great. It's been good since you jumped back on.
Yeah, since doing that, I've been doing all right. So let's get off here before Thomas and Trey have to do any more post-production. Hey guys, stay tuned to the channel for the Cashing Points live stream. We're just the warm-up act that nobody came to see, T-Bro. Everybody's coming to everybody's coming to see the main event. That's the Cashing Points live stream. Scott, Graham, and Jake are going to be doing a phenomenal job with that, breaking down the DFS slate for Trey and for Tom. I am Joe. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Catch us over at fantasypoints.com. Have a great night.